So you're ready to buy your first property, whether it be a home that you're living in, your forever home, a starter home, or if you were like me and you had an investment property as your first home. I'm going to go over from start to finish, from obtaining the initial pre-approval of the loan, pre-approval for the loan, all the way through the closing process of the deal. I am also going to cover some of the pitfalls that is detrimental to people buying their first homes, that they may have an inexperienced realtor or not have given the best advice or incorrect advice. And I'm going to go over all of that. That way you don't run into any of these problems that people do run into more often than you would think. And we're going to go over all that. And if at any point during the video you have a question or something unique to your scenario, please leave it down below. I could talk for 2 hours on this subject, but I'm gonna keep it brief, hit on the main points, things to look out for. And so leave a comment down below if you have any specific questions. Smash that like button. It really does help out my channel a lot. And hit that subscribe button and notification bell. That way you don't miss any videos. But anyways, let's get right into it. So the great thing about purchasing your first home is you have a lot of different options. My favorite option, which is a very common option for your first home purchase, is an FHA loan. Now, the FHA loan is fantastic because you only have to put down 3.5%, which is really not a lot of money. It's very, very good program that they have, and the Federal Housing Association provides for first-time home buyers, but you don't have to use it for the first time you buy a home. So this is a common misconception actually about the FHA loan. So the FHA loan, a lot of people think they use it once and they can never use it again. They lost their FHA loan, they can't ever use it again, so they don't save it for their first home. They want to save it for when they have their forever home. The truth of the matter is, actually, and I'm going to be getting ready to do this in my first purchase, is you can refinance out of an FHA loan. So you can refinance into a conventional loan, get your FHA back, and then you can go and take that FHA loan and go out and buy another property with an FHA loan. So I used an FHA loan to buy my first property. It was a duplex. I rented out half, lived in the other half, and now today I actually make, I brought about a little under $10,000 to the closing table. So about $10,000 down at the closing table, and now I make $1,200 profit every single month off of that property. So that's the power of the FHA loan. Little money to the closing table. Don't have to put a lot of money down. And if you have an investment property, you're really in a good situation to get your initial investment back rather quickly, as long as you pick the right deal. And if you're buying a home that you're living in, you really can save a lot of money for whatever you want, whether if you want to invest your money or you just want to have a little bit of safety net, you can do so. You don't have to put down a big, large chunk of money. So the first thing you do when you're going and getting property, the first thing you want to do is you're going to want to get pre-approved. Pre-approval is where you go to the bank or a credit union and you say, hey, I want to obtain a loan for a property. They're going to ask some questions, some basic questions, and they're going to give you a pre-approval letter that basically says Joe Schmo can purchase property up to $250,000. Now, it's very important that you get pre-approved, and most realtors won't even show you property unless you're pre-approved. And with today's market, how fast property gets purchased, if you don't have a pre-approval, when you submit an offer, you have to have a pre-approval letter to basically say, hey, I'm a serious buyer, I can afford this property. And if you don't have that, you're not going to have your offer get accepted. They're not going to take you as a serious buyer. Number one. Number two, if you love a property, fall in love with it, by the time you go get pre-approved and then write an offer, by that point, probably the property is going to be gone with how fast property is flying off the shelves today. So just get pre-approved. It is not that difficult. It's a pretty quick process. They're going to ask you some questions, and then later on is when you have to provide a lot of documents. But basically, it's basic questions that they ask you and write up a pre-approval letter for you. Another common mistake that a lot of people do when they go out and look at property is they might get a pre-approved, like I said, for $250,000. So they start looking at houses that are $250,000. Do not do that, okay? A lot of times when you get pre-approved up to a certain amount, you could maybe afford that amount, but you're gonna be house broke most likely, okay? They approve you for really higher than you should be looking. So if you let's say get approved for $250,000, I don't recommend touching around there. The only situation where I could see that being a viable reason is if you are house hacking. Again, I'll leave a link in the description for that, and that's where you buy a property such as a duplex, like I said, rent out a side and create income coming in. That is the only situation where I see, you know, going up very close or at your pre-approval level, and it is still risky. Even though it is investment property, you are going to have rent coming out. That's still very risky strategy. But in that situation, if it is a good property, it makes sense. You know you're going to have a good cash flow and it's a very good area and people are going to want to rent there and you're not going to have issues renting. And if no one does rent it, you still feel as if in budget and know you can afford the payment. That's the only time I recommend going up to near your pre-approval limit. And they may be able to provide your letter, but they're also going to be asking you for W-2s. They're going to be asking you for pay stubs. They're going to be asking you for tax returns, your cash you have on hand, bank account statements. There's a whole bunch. I'm sure I'm missing some. They're going to ask you for a lot of different documents. So just try to provide those in a timely manner to your loan officer, to whoever you're obtaining your mortgage through. That way you can keep the process rolling. Also, when you're going out and getting pre-approved or showing them all these different forms, let's say in your bank account you've got large transfers, okay? That's going to ding a little bit of a red flag, and that's okay as long as you have a good explanation for it. So if your explanation for the $5,000 coming in is, oh, I couldn't afford to pay my bills, but I had $10,000 or $15,000 coming in shortly after, so I knew I'd be able to pay them back and have all this extra money left over. The banks aren't going to think like you do, okay? They're going to be like, well, you weren't able to pay your bills, so why are we going to give you a loan? Yeah, you had that money coming in, but if you've had to borrow money this recently to pay your bills, how do we know that we're going to be able to give you a loan? You're going to be able to stay up and not get in any financial trouble. So just basically make sure you have all your ducks in a row. That way you don't throw any red flags. Look over your bank statements before you do that. Maybe back off your big purchases a couple months. They're usually going to ask for 2 months worth of bank statements. So kind of look those over, make sure there's nothing big. Now, if you did have $5,000 coming in because you sold a car, they are going to ask for that paperwork. So they are going to need proof that that's why that money came in, but that's okay. Okay. That's a good reason. But again, if you're getting money in because you can't pay your bills, something like that, or big unnecessary purchases, that could raise some red flags and definitely hinder your ability to get a loan. They're also going to pull your credit score and check your credit. If you have any questions at all or want to know how credit works, how you can get a higher credit score or even a perfect credit score if you want to be strive for greatness, I will leave a link down below. I did a video on credit, how to obtain a good credit score, what all affects it and all that. So make sure to check that out if you have any questions about credit or any concerns at all. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to go out and you're going to view properties. This is the exciting part of the whole process. You get to kind of pick and choose what you want to go and see them in person. And a lot of times you're going to realize pictures online look a lot better. You can get into a property and realize, hey, this thing is not good. The flooring's all getting peeled up and you're kind of let down. But then others, you walk in and they are, you know, what the pictures kind of showed or even better. And then at that point, you're going to go up and you're going to write an offer. And again, when you find and submit your offer, make sure the numbers make sense. Run a budget. Make sure you can afford your payment. And if you are house hacking, like I mentioned before, make sure you have about what rent range. Go on the low end. That way you budget and make sure you can afford it and kind of run the numbers and make sure the deal makes sense. Another thing to keep in mind is if you're submitting an FHA offer, you're not going to be able to get a fixer-upper home. Okay, FHA, the way it works is, yes, you only have to pay 3.5% down, but they're very strict on that loan. So you can't have like any peeling paint. I mean, there is so many things. It's basically their own inspection when they go through, and they're very, very picky. So most likely they're going to probably ask the seller to fix a couple things, but you can't have anything really wrong with the property or you're not going to be able to obtain an FHA loan. If you're going conventional, that's a different story. And like I said, you can't get a fixer-upper if you're going the FHA route. So after you submit your offer, hopefully you get lucky and your offer gets accepted. If it doesn't, that's okay. I remember my first property, my first offers I wrote did not get accepted, were not good enough. So don't get discouraged. And actually, it worked out very well for me. I was very discouraged. I really wanted a property. I got emotionally involved, which you should not do, okay? Especially in investment properties. And I was not happy, but it ended up working out and I got a really, really good property. Then you're going to be in contact with the title company. The title company is who basically regulates and looks over everything. They're who you're actually going to sign with at the final closing date. But they're going to be in contact with both the buyer and the seller. They're going to also be in contact with your insurance agent, your banks, getting a loan commitment. They basically make sure everything is going to go as planned in closing. And during the closing process, and this closing process is primarily about 30 days. It can change, it can get extended, but that's when you're going to get loan commitment, and that's usually going to be after the appraisal comes through. Now, an appraisal is basically appraiser comes through the property, says, hey, I think this property is worth, let's say, $200,000. Now, if you wrote in an offer on the property for $250,000, that property is not going to appraise. The appraiser's coming in saying that the property is only worth $200,000. Well, you're overpaying for $250,000. That's $50,000 over. You're not going to get loan commitment. They're not going to give and lend you money for something that's worth way more or way less than what you're paying. And again, with the FHA appraisers, they're very strict. It's almost like a home inspection. So you're going to make sure there's most likely not going to be any big issues that they miss, or really any issues that they miss. They're very thorough with their appraisals and they're very picky. Another thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get a home inspection. Now in today's climate, real estate climate, actually a lot of people are waiving the inspections. I know with my first property, I knew it was FHA, so they're already going to do a very thorough appraisal. So they're going to make sure that everything with the property, there's no big issues. But I just had my contractor walk through the property with me. We did a basic walkthrough because when submitting an FHA offer, it's not as an attractive offer to the seller than, let's say, especially a cash offer, but also like a conventional offer. Any other offers, the FHA is the weakest offer because they're so picky and they might want the seller to come fix some things. You can definitely consider possibly waiving an inspection. I'm not going to tell you to do that. That is not what I'm telling you to do. That is just what I did in my situation. I waived the inspection. It made my offer a lot stronger, and I was able to get my offer accepted because I waived the inspection. I also did a lot of other things in the offer that really helped me out. And it helps having an aggressive realtor to help, push your offer forward and make it look attractive to the seller. Another step in the process, I know there's a lot of steps, but that's going to be the title company will probably reach out, be like, hey, do you have insurance lined up? If you do, great. Give them your insurance agent's phone number, contact information, and they'll be in contact with them. If not, reach out to an insurance agent. Let them know, hey, this is the case. I'm buying a property. This is the loan type, the loan amount, this is the address, and they're going to give you an estimate, and they're going to be in contact with the title company. What I really like about that is they actually put all my mortgages have my insurance factored in to the mortgage. So I just pay insurance with my mortgage every single month, and it's just a lot easier that way. So after all of that, congratulations, you are getting to the final walkthrough. There are certain things that could come up. Title company is going to handle. They're going to talk to you. They're going to talk to your real estate agent, the buyer's agent, seller's agent, everybody, all parties involved. They have any issues, they're going to sort all that out. Sometimes you do have to have extensions. Sometimes you close early. It really just depends on the situation. Each situation is different. But then you get to your final walkthrough, which is the exciting part. You're finally done. You got loan commitment. You're ready to close on the property. All you got to do is sign the papers. But first, you're going to do exactly what it sounds like. You're going to walk the property. Make sure nobody came in over there overnight and vandalized. Make sure it is what you are purchasing. Just a final walkthrough. Last bit, make sure there's no big red flags, damages, holes in the wall that weren't there before, any of that stuff. And then you are clear to close. And closing day is very exciting, but at first it's it's kind of overwhelming that you have to sign your signature about 100 times. I mean, they've got a packet like that big of papers that they can flip through, explaining all this, sign here, and they explain a lot. Now, hopefully, the more you close, or you can tell them, yeah, I've bought property in the past, and usually after that, they go pretty quickly. The last one I had, I mean, he was flipping through, sign here, sign here, sign here, and it went a lot quicker than my first one when a lot was explained. It was a lot longer process. But if it is your first time doing it, I do recommend listen to them, let them read it over. That way you're familiar with the process, you know what you're signing and all that stuff. But then congratulations, you have your first home, or multifamily if you chose the investment route. But thank you so much for watching my video. Like I said, if you have absolutely any questions at all about any point in this video, or any specific questions to you, or if you don't want to leave it in the comment section, it's more a personal question. If you're worried about getting approved for a loan, you can follow me on social media, message me on Instagram, Twitter. I'll leave those down below. Feel free to reach out. My email's even down there as well. Also, again, make sure to smash that like button. It really does help out the channel. Hit that subscribe button. I hope I helped you guys out and you're able to get to your first property, and I hope I answered all the questions that you may have had. But until next time, peace.